Hi creative humans, and welcome back to a new episode of Just a Note. Today's network is based on reaction diffusion technique, which I think many of you already know, but if you want to explore it further, I'm linking some really interesting resources in the description, so you can check it out. So we are basically creating a feedback loop with two blurs. The first one, it's a Luma blur, and it's inspired by Lake Ekman's video on reaction diffusion, which is really interesting and I suggest you to check it out. It's linked below as well. And the second one, it's a normal blur, and we are gonna subtract those two. As usual, we first put down all our nodes, not worrying about parameters, we are gonna check those later. And I'm adding a math and a level that are gonna help us tweaking the loop. And since I have one node left, I'm putting down also a noise that we are gonna use for colors. I'm linking the head to the feedback, and we are done. This is our 10 nodes network, and now we are gonna play with parameters, and let's see how many visuals we can create in just 10 nodes. Okay, starting with the first visual, we are gonna go to the first noise and set up our resolution. You can choose whatever you prefer, and then I'm modifying a few parameters in the noise itself. You can follow along. Otherwise, I'm putting the recap of all the parameters I modify at the end of each visual. Let me know if it's something that you find useful, because I think it is, but it's pretty time consuming, so if no one cares, I'm gonna stop doing that. And then you know the drill, I'm animating the noise in the translate panel. We are using the same noise also as input for the Luma blur, but please notice that that is just due to the 10 nodes limitation. You don't have to do that, you can definitely duplicate that noise and change parameters. So now I'm changing also the blur, and then we have the subtraction. You can slightly see what is happening, but now we are gonna multiply all that difference and you're gonna see it so much better. And now, pretty standard procedure in a feedback, we are gonna reduce the opacity in the level. 0.75 seems a good combination here. And now for the final noise, just know that this is just used for the color output. So I'm tested a few parameters and I'm inserting the numbers that I know that I like, but it's just a matter of personal preference, so you can do whatever you prefer, you don't need to follow along with the numbers here. Okay, just change the output to just noise, and here obviously you can insert a keyboard in for the pulse, and this is just due to the limitation to 10 nodes. I didn't do that, so I had to pulse it manually. And here I'm just modifying the gamma, but just for the color output, and something is still off. Okay, so for some reason I translated the noise, so this is the final output for the first visual. So we go back to the first noise again, and we are gonna reduce the period to just 2, and also the harmonics, and you can already see how much the visual is already changing, and many of these variations could be the starting point for something different. So whenever you feel inspired, take your time and you can experiment on your own. Okay, this is much more like a classical reaction diffusion effect, but we are gonna change that right now. So I'm modifying the blur here. And I'm going back with the gamma at the standard level, and also going a little bit higher on the opacity. And now we are almost there. I'm gonna change a bit the colors. Again, this is just up to you, do whatever you like. Let's just try something slightly different for the blur and pulse it. Okay, now I'm going back to the filter size 1 and let's make the noise a bit faster. Okay, here we are. This is the final result for Visual 2. Okay, let's start again from the first noise. And this time we are going for something more dotted and more defined, as you have seen in the preview. And I actually like really much this variation with the big blobs and the more scattered parts, but we are going for something different here. So, and then I'm choosing a really neon palette, and I really like this color combination because there really seems like the edges are glowing and lighting up. And here we are. Okay, we start again from the noise. We're gonna increase the period a bit, also the harmonic spread and the harmonic gain. We're gonna lower a lot the amplitude and also the offset. And we want to slow down a lot the noise movement here. Just play around with the different blurs to increase the size of our dots. Okay, and now for the first time we're also gonna play with the translating the subtract node, and I'm looking for this kind of melting effect because I was like thinking about oil bubbles on watery surface, so this kind of movement of drops that are falling down. So I'm playing with the blurs parameter here. And here again we are gonna play with the colors to get to something we like. Okay, now we go for this kind of blinky bubbles, blinky dots effect. So we are gonna start again from the noise. We are going to speed up again the noise animation, and then we go back to the blur. I know that right now the feedback is empty, but trust the process. Okay, go back to having no translation in the subtraction and add a little bit back of opacity. just a bit. Okay, we are starting to see something. Honestly, I don't really like the noise effect that is on the background, but I've seen that it just depends on the color combination on the noise, if you can perceive it or not. So yeah, with this color combination I cannot see it, so I'm leaving it as it is. If you want to remove it, you have to tweak a bit the blurs. Okay, this time we are going for this kind of dripping 3D noise effect. So again, let's start from the noise. I also really like this intermediate visual we are getting right now, even if it's not our goal. And again, let's tweak the blurs. This time we also try something new, that is changing the sample step inside the blur, and in this way we can obtain these kind of really thick lines of noise. And also we add some translation to have it move, and it transforms thanks to the feedback in these kind of horizontal stripe shapes. Let's play with the multiply and the opacity, and we get this 3D-ish effect. Even with the last color combination we used, I kinda like it, but we are going for something different here, just to experiment a bit. Okay, and I think I'm gonna go with that, and we are done. Okay, we start from the noise as usual. We are bringing back harmonics here for this next visual. You can experiment on your own with the numbers here, you don't need to be super precise, but if you want to obtain the same exact effect, I'm gonna put, as usual, the screenshot with all the modified parameters at the end of each visual. I really love this function from TouchDesigner, where you can highlight all the modified non-standard parameters in each node. I think it's really useful. Okay, and now we are gonna tweak the blur, and I really love what is going on in the background right now, this kind of dripping effect on different scales. I'm also trying something new here, as adding rotation in the subtract. As you can see, there are always so many parameters that you can change, even in 10 nodes. Possibilities are almost endless in TouchDesigner. Also, another thing that we will try this time is adding some scaling in the add node, and you can experiment with it and see that the result is slightly different than if you add it in the subtraction, as we have done previously. And it's time for color tweaking again. I'm going for this really dark bluish in this visual, something like a galaxy palette. it's time for the last visual. This is the last example I propose you, but as you have seen, there are plenty of possibilities for exploration here. A new thing we are exploring this time is changing the scale of the noise. So I'm stretching the X scale in the noise to obtain these kind of horizontal stripes, and then I'm changing parameters in the blurs, and I really like the effect with the Luma blur and this horizontal noise. And changing the movement in the noise so that is going upwards instead on the z-axis. And here we are. I'm just finishing modifying my colors, but we pulse it and we are done. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please let me know if you experiment with it and obtain something different. I'm really curious to see what you come up with. Thank you for watching, and if you want to support me in continuing this series, please feel free to subscribe, liking, and even commenting with your feedback. It's really appreciated. Bye!